Welcome here to our studio in Hilversum. My name is Renald Buter and I'm joined here today with the CTO of Mollie, Marco dos Santos. Welcome. Nice for you to join us here. So, who are you? Where do you come from?
Okay, glad to be here. Let's start with that. I'm just a computer engineer that started and studied in Portugal. That's where I'm originally from. And after a while in the US, I figured, hey, I need to start working at some point. And after a few international experiences working from Portugal, but for companies abroad, I decided to move to the Netherlands, where I took a job at Booking, and it was quite a journey, right?
Yeah.
Joined them back in 2010. It was quite a small company back at the time. Well, nearly 1,000 people, but compared to the time I left, there was quite some growth. And after being there as an engineer for a while, ended up taking on a journey in leadership. Took on a team, then a group of teams, and feel super lucky to have been there at a phase of such growth, where we pretty much were doubling every year. And I got to learn a lot about the business, about technology, and about building teams. And after 10 years, which sounds like an eternity nowadays, but during that time, it's actually quite a fun journey. The opportunity to join Mollie came along. And I took it with both hands. It seemed like a great company. I really fell in love with the people and with the product. And back in June 2020, took on that journey to lead Mollie's engineering platform. So
nice.
It's been quite nice.
To take your experience to that company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I always look at it as it needs to be a win-win. So I was looking for a place where I could have impact and where I could really help transform the company into this next stage.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was a great opportunity for me to represent the engineering discipline at the highest level and also learn from that experience.
Yeah. Nice. So 2 Dutch companies. Yeah, Booking is a Dutch company, Mollie is a Dutch company, different fields. So perhaps it's good also for the audience for you to tell a little bit more about Mollie, who they are, what they do.
Cool. So Mollie is effectively a payments company, which on the surface maybe doesn't sound that as exciting. But if you look in a bit deeper, looking at the type of customers we're serving, which is typically small and medium customers, our objective is really to help these businesses be successful by simplifying business and payments for them, right? So typically the financial industry is not the easiest to get along, and for everybody who sometimes tries to interact with banks, it's not often a very positive experience. So we try to remove as much friction from small entrepreneurs to build a presence online and to start selling their products and services to consumers across the globe effectively. Yeah. So we really support these kind of customers. Right now in 4 countries, soon to be 5. So the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Germany, and we're launching in the UK. And our ambition is, of course, to expand in Europe, and because we believe we have a great product, and really satisfy the needs of customers across the pan-European market.
Yeah. So going broad, and I exactly. understood that you have engineering locations in Amsterdam and Lisbon, right?
Indeed, for now. Maybe more to come, we'll see. But we felt that as part of expanding our business, having a broader geographical presence would assist us in doing so. Yeah. We're already doing that for sales and a bit for operations. So engineering was just a next step. And I believe that we might even open a few more engineering hubs, maybe this year, maybe next year. But stay tuned.
Yeah, nice. So people not only have, they also have local teams, so they can not only work remotely, but also visit the office somewhere. Exactly. Feel presence.
And that ties a lot into one of our USPs, this feeling of being very local. Right? Yeah. So here in the Netherlands, everybody pays with Ideal. In Belgium, they pay with other payment methods, but it's important for us to feel local, not only on the onboarding process, but also in the payment experience and on the support that we give to our customers.
Yeah. And you bring along an experience from Booking, seeing it grow over 10 years from relatively large company to the huge, very, very well-known company it is today. The challenge of scaling engineering, scaling science, scaling data. So if you look at the importance of scaling, the way of working, where do engineers fit in? Where do the people who do the actual technical implementations fit in?
It's a good question. Obviously, both Booking and Mollie, at the core, they're technology companies, right? And that, for me, means that technology needs to be present throughout the business. And I typically am a fan of placing engineers and placing teams very close to the business and to the problems that you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So the way that translated for us at Booking was that we had customers all along the customer journey, both for consumers but also for the hotels and businesses that we worked with. And at Mollie, we mimic that to a certain extent, where we have some teams dedicated, for example, for the onboarding experience, and they will collaborate more with our commerce department and with our operations department, and other teams, for example, that handle more the payments experience, the checkout experience, right? So that bringing those teams close to the problem spaces that they're trying to solve, I really believe will enable them to take the right level of ownership, really understand the problems that they're trying to solve, and then come up with solutions that are fit for purpose, that scale without having too many interpreters in the middle, right? What I often see in companies is somebody talks to the customer, writes a requirement, and then by the time it gets to an engineer, the idea of what needs to be solved has disappeared. And you often get a bit of a mismatch between what the customer actually needs and what gets delivered.
Yeah, it's a Chinese whisper game, right?
Exactly. Telephone game is an interesting one.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, each team is associated with a particular domain,
Yes,
with
correct.
a particular service or user experience.
Indeed. So we have what we call self-steering teams, which is pretty common in businesses nowadays. So teams tend to have all the skill sets required to solve the problems that they're faced. And we then, like I said, put them in proximity to the business, and we cluster teams in domains that kind of share a bit of a technology stack or share a group of stakeholders. So, for example, that translates into us having a customer onboarding and operations domain, like I mentioned earlier, that kind of deals with everybody that is trying to sign up to Mollie and that is processing payments with Mollie. And then we have, for example, a platforms domain that is then responsible for our infrastructure, our cloud journey, our developer tools, so that things are, there's proximity and there's synergy between teams to deliver value.
And how do you prevent reinventing the wheel then? Because you have different pockets of people in different domains, but they're focused on a particular way of working. How do you make sure that they align on certain things?
I try to make sure that they align on the things that matter the most, and I'm not too worried about a bit of duplication of effort. I think it's the price to pay when you give autonomy to teams to kind of find their own way. And of course, we promote opportunities to share knowledge and to contribute to a common platform. But if two teams end up having similar needs and they go kind of their own separate ways and reinvent a bit the wheel, if it still adds value, I think that is a better outcome than two teams waiting for each other until they actually agree on how they're going to build it, and we just lose velocity and we lose the opportunity to capture impact.
So it's just doing it and then learning from doing it, and then perhaps taking it to a more generic, higher level, and then say, okay, well, this seems like a good idea. Let's try to see if we can fit in the work of others as well in that type of I
try to avoid that premature optimization that often companies fall in that trap, because if two ideas are successful, great, that's a luxury problem, right? If you don't try, you don't know what's going to work, and only ideas that work we should really optimize and build upon. So I really try to push teams to ask for forgiveness, not ask for permission, so that they can move, be agile, deliver impact. And of course, there will be, for example, technical debt that will accumulate, But that's part of any successful business.
Yeah.
I think only unsuccessful businesses don't have technical debt. So we'll figure it out as we go along.
I think that's very interesting that technical debt is something frowned upon by certain organizations. Well, that's a liability, but you say, well, it's part of the game. You should control it, but
there's multiple types of technical debt, right? There's technical debt that comes from growth, and that's fine, right? It becomes a scalability problem, which engineers usually like. Then there's technical debt that you take on consciously, right? You cut a corner so that you optimize your time to market, therefore generate value, and then you already know that if that works, you're gonna have to revisit it later on and pay that at some point. But then you have the bad technical debt, which is the one that you take on without really realizing it. When people cut corners where they don't understand the impact of those. And that's the most dangerous one, because often it comes and bites you in the butt a bit further down the line, and it's not in a controlled fashion. So,
and I can understand that a mindset that a DevOps or an MLOps framework brings along, you build it, you run it, that helps controlling that debt as well, because it will, in the end, hurt the team itself by cutting too many corners.
Exactly. So the team needs to feel both empowered to take on technical debt, because there's no fail-safe, right? There's no grenade-type development that, I'll build it and then somebody else will come later on and have to clean up my mess. So I really like that spirit of ownership that I try to build into the teams, that they're accountable for the feature, they're accountable for the scalability and for the performance of the system effectively.
Nice.
So,
and what does an organization like GoData-driven Bings, Xebia fit in this game? I know that we were present at the beginning of starting up the data chapter of Mollie, for example. How do you see that fit, and how did that start at Mollie?
Yeah, so it started before my time even, but I hear very good stories about that experience. And where I see and continue to see Xebia and GoData-driven adding a lot of value is on bringing expertise that we don't have, especially in a transformation phase or in a build phase. So for example, with GoData-driven, we use your services and really collaborated well to stand up a data lake and some business processes that really allowed us to get what we needed at the time, which is a bit more in financial reporting. And now you guys are working with us on the next stage of that data lake, which is much more about improving decision-making based on data, improving everything related to building data products, bringing more of a mindset of experimentation and connecting cause and effect and impact to the changes we make. And that's quite an important one for a company like Mollie, given the journey that we are in. Yeah. So when you're small, you're just basically trying to get that product market fit. But as we grow and we already have over 100,000 customers, every change we make has an impact. It can be a positive impact, can be a detrimental impact, but we need to be able to know what that is. Yeah. And that's for me the importance of data in a business. And I think GoData-driven is really helping us quite a bit to get that data lake and that data infrastructure to the next level. Yeah. Yeah. And if you talk a bit more about Bings, for example, there's been a bit of a similar experience when it comes to our cloud journey. So we started building some services in cloud. We still have a big chunk of our services running on-prem, but we believe the future is cloud. And our folks at Bings, or your folks at Bings, have been really helping us get a bit more of an understanding of how to run, how to scale, what technologies to use. So we create a bit of a golden path for teams. Whenever they want to build a service, that the easiest beaten path is the one in cloud, not continuing to invest in our on-prem setup.
Thanks for the nice word. So our people, the Xebia, Bings, GoData-driven people, help accelerate the people at Mollie, for example, and then they go on and build great stuff. Hey, and looking at the technical challenges and the ambitions at Mollie, when preparing this, you told us that we were a payment services, but we want to become a finance services provider, ambitious growth during COVID. when people work at Mollie, what are examples of technical challenges they can work on, or what are the technical ambitions?
Okay, well, that's there's a lot to unpack on,
No,
on that
sorry.
question. No,
Big
it's all
question.
good. It's all good. So we've been looking to scale as a business in more than one direction. So one of them, of course, and you mentioned the impact of COVID on businesses. While it's been extremely detrimental to many businesses, what we've seen is that it accelerated even further the transition of many businesses to e-commerce rather than just brick and mortar, right? It also actually created a lot of new businesses that didn't exist before because it, you know how it is, market supply and demand. So all of a sudden we were faced with quite a sharp increase in traffic, in more businesses trying to process payments, and as a result, we had to adapt to that, automate some more, and really hang on for that growth. At the same time, we see that many of these businesses are underserved when it comes to their financial operations. So if you try to, as an entrepreneur, open a bank account, get credit, get a credit card even, it is quite challenging. Yeah. So we see quite an opportunity to expand our range of services from just payments, that we have a lot of competitors, more to this ecosystem of financial services that can power businesses, small and medium alike, and give them the right tools to grow and to scale. And that comes with interesting dynamics, right? Because going from one product to multi-product is always a bit of a challenge. It's always like going from one tech stack to two. That 1 to 2 step creates a bit of, or adds quite a bit of complexity. And that's where we've been trying to figure out how to take that journey, right? So simplifying the way that we can build new products, simplifying the way that we can ship new things to production, that we can open new markets. And that really required us to take a deep look into the bottlenecks of our system, look for opportunities to scale, look for opportunities to redesign and re-architect some parts that maybe are a bit too stuck on, I can only do payments. Right? So that's the journey we're looking at right now. So going from a
monolith kind of approach to and the move to cloud kind of went parallel with this, right?
Yeah. So actually, initially we tried a lift and shift. I think before my time, that didn't work so well due to some characteristics of our application. So what we found is we need to change some things in order to make that monolith to cloud, because we're trying to indeed do 2 steps in one to a certain extent, which adds a bit of complexity, but it's really kind of needed because on-prem is not going to scale. No,
only so far, right? And so that means that you do cloud migration, but also re-architecture. You said the system is evolving, so you need to be decoupled a lot. And of course the cloud helps here, right?
Indeed.
So in your opinion, what is the thing that cloud adds to a journey like this?
Okay. I've always talked about 3 objectives with a cloud migration at Mollie. So one is around reliability. So I believe it offers us a better platform for us to offer better products to our merchants in a more reliable way. Right, the multi-zone, multi-region gives us just more options than what we currently have. Second one is around reliability. Google being, or cloud in general, Google in particular, being kind of a tier 1 provider. We really believe in the products that they build, and we believe it will help us build more reliable products. And last, but definitely not least, as I see it as the most important, is it expedites our time to market. Yeah. For new features or new products. There's no asking for hardware, there's again no asking for permission, right? The golden path is there. Our ability to ship a new service should be measured in minutes, not in days like in the bad old days. So that's where we see cloud playing a key role in our growth journey.
Yeah, yeah. So it's accelerate, it's ship faster, innovate faster, broader ownership. The self-service idea of cloud is I hear you say that, and that makes me happy because I see a lot of other companies take the data center approach and then plot it onto cloud. So they're rebuilding services like they would do in a data center, which is probably not the way to go.
Not the right mindset.
No. And again, I know that Bings, for example, helped you here kickstart this, and then you take it on, and your own teams can move on. And
absolutely, they really your team, your people really helped us kickstart that. When we started, we didn't really have much knowledge about what it takes to run and build services in cloud. So that that knowledge, that infusion of knowledge, and that aspect of training really helped us get going.
Yeah.
And you guys are still present there in multiple teams, so we still have a few things to learn.
It's not done yet.
It's not done yet, no.
Hey, and data, of course, you collect a lot of data. What kind of developments do you see right now at Mollie?
We have a few. Right? Earlier in the interview, we talked a bit about the journey we're doing with data and how initially it was more used for financial reporting. What we see is that there's a ton of opportunity to use data in understanding impact of changes, but also in building data products. And this is something I'm kind of borrowing a page from my booking book. That was a company that was very much obsessed with data and understanding the impact of changes via a lot of A/B testing, which I think could be a very powerful tool to optimize a product. But we just see that with the structure we had, we first were not capturing all the data that we needed and not sending it adequately to the data lake. And we're really not making much use of it, aside from some Looker reports that the business uses to make decisions, but in a very narrow scope. So we decided actually last year to bring data into engineering and make it more of a first-class citizen, if you will, bringing them much closer to the development process and much more embedded with engineering teams. So again, that we have data scientists and other data-savvy folks more embedded in the business so that they understand customer problems and can help us optimize using an extra tool in our toolbox, which is data. So we're already using it for risk assessments and doing some automation. And we have big plans to actually working on a project with Go Data Driven to create more of an infrastructure to productionize models and ship models to production so we can start embedding it more in our product. I see tons of opportunities that I don't necessarily want to go discuss here, but that piece about building data products and optimizing our own product based on data is a fundamental one. But for that to happen, our data lake needs to be stepped up a notch or two.
Yeah. You need that reliable base where your data is stored, not only the raw data, but also the aggregated data, the clean data.
Exactly.
And then to be used within, not only for reporting, but also to create extra additional value to customers to enhance that user experience.
Absolutely.
And that also means that you not only need to have data aware and data capable professionals in the teams, but also your business needs to be aware of the power of data. And also your role as CTO, I can imagine that you would like to your organization not only to understand technology but also data. How do you approach that? How is that journey going at Mollie?
Well, it's definitely a journey. We're not there yet, I can tell you that. But it really starts in my mind, with leading by example a lot. So when we talk to the teams and engage with them, always asking for supporting data, and it goes both ways, right? If they want to prioritize something, want to my buy-in, they should bring data, and the other way around as well, right? So, for example, a conversation about reliability or performance of a given service or part of their product, let's bring data to the discussion to start with. Second one is about also training and empowering people to kind of look at data on their own terms rather than just I'll talk to my engineer and they'll do some queries and that's it. In my mind, most product owners even some business stakeholders should be able to retrieve data and analyze data.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I think this is one of the most powerful things that I saw at Booking. It basically gives you a common language. And people can always go, I have an idea, and can validate very quickly without even having to depend on anybody else.
Okay.
So I think this idea of self-service can be extremely powerful and can really help businesses step up into a new realm. So yeah, it's a journey. I can tell you that some people are more easily persuaded to go in this direction than others.
Yeah.
But we're making progress, and every day I hope we can take a step in that direction. That people will start asking for data.
So actually, you're starting to create your strategy is to create a fear of missing out with all the people who do not understand good enough how data can fit in their.
It can be a powerful tool.
I totally agree.
Getting critical mass is always good.
Yeah. Hey, and looking towards the future. Where do you see this go?
You need to be a bit more specific. What do you mean by this?
So Mollie will be present in more European markets, and new products and new services will be developed.
Understood.
Yeah. So where do you see this?
It's a journey of depth and breadth, to be very honest. What I mean by that is, I think our core product has a lot to be expanded on in terms of breadth, as into more countries, staying true to our principles, very easy onboarding, hyper-localized payment methods, and user experience. So we're already going to the UK, and we have a bit of a roadmap that we haven't announced yet, but there's already some more countries we're looking at in Europe. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, in the next couple of years, start looking at other continents where our product market fit can be extremely powerful. So we already have a couple of markets in sight there, but focus is the name of the game, and we really want to make sure that we're successful first in Europe, create also a good brand that is recognized, and then can expand successfully to other geographies. The other part of that is on products, right? So diversifying the product suite. So that's what I mean more in terms of depth, so that we can engage customers with more contact points than just payments, right? And there we already announced last year when we did our Series C. We're already looking at cash advance, which is a form of credit, of lending. So we already have a pilot running with that to expand to that direction. And we're entertaining the idea of going toward expense management by issuing credit cards, for example. And the third product is about offering bank accounting services. So kind of you can run your business with a portfolio of products rather than just having to have multiple providers depending on what you're trying to do. So 3 to 5 years, I expect that we are well established in Europe. Maybe already have a couple of markets, maybe in Asia, maybe South America, we'll see. And that we have 5 to 10 products with reasonable traction that expand from payments. Interesting.
Yeah. And all that driven by technology, by data, by cloud.
Exactly. So all that driven by Mollie's and by our partners, right? Because I'm a strong believer, like I said earlier, that technology is at the core of this company. So technology and product, of course, working in collaboration with other departments are the ones who are going to build this.
Hey, and final question: you as a CTO, you of course your focus is on building those teams, making sure that those teams deliver awesome products, have awesome stuff to work on. What would be the thing for people to join Mollie, for example? What would they find?
I think the main thing is, I would add compound 2, if you don't mind, fun and growth. And I mean that in the sense that identifying with the mission we have of really helping businesses thrive and grow, and at the same time growing yourself and really enjoying the work environment we have. We're quite a young company, although we've been around for a few years, but the atmosphere of of really expansion and really learning and helping people is really great.
Yeah.
And what we see is engagement is super high. People really care, and the atmosphere across the board is really good. Right. Okay. So I'd look at Mollie as a place where not only engineers but everybody that joins has a journey of growth, can have fun, and can have impact.
Yeah. Great discussion. Any topics we didn't touch upon?
No, I'm pretty happy with the questions you asked, and I think we covered a lot of ground today. So again, just want to say thank you for having me over.
Oh, thank you, Marco, and thank you for watching this episode.